So in this video, I want to talk about the question on the midterm, which had to do with determining whether we can be sure that there is a false positive disparity, right? And here's the data that's given to you. So you have some kind of classifier that makes predictions, and it makes predictions for both people from group A and people from group B. And the predictions would be like ones and zeros. So it's going to be the same thing here. So those would be the labels, right? So the test A, test B, those would be the correct responses. Pred A, pred B, those would be the predictions that the classifier makes. And the first thing I would usually do is I would just like make up some data just to make things kind of like more concrete. So for test A, let's say that the labels are like this. So it would be like 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0. And let's say that for test B, it's the same thing. So it's 1, 1, 1, and then 0, 0, 0. And now what I want to do is I want to make up predictions to make things kind of interesting. Okay, so how do I do that? So I would say, okay, so hopefully the predictor is like more right than wrong usually. So let's say that the prediction here is going to be 1, and here it's going to be 1 as well, so it's correct. And here it's going to be wrong. And let's say that here it's going to be wrong as well, but here it's right because there is a match here, and here is right because there is a match here. And maybe for people in population B, it's a little bit different. So maybe we get all the ones correct, but maybe what then happens is we just get one of the zeros correct, and then for the rest we are wrong. So here we would say 0, and here we would say 1, 1. Okay? So now the first thing that we do is we just say, okay, what's the false positive rate for this data that I just made up? So false positive rate means out of all the negatives, how many times did the classifier say that the answer is actually positive? What's the proportion? So we'll say FPRA. So what is that going to be? So we're just looking at the zeros here, and there is one false positive over here that we see. Okay, so that means that 1 out of 3 times we'll be wrong about the negatives. So the false positive rate for group A is going to be 1/3. So FPRB, well, what is that now? So here are all the negatives for B, and here we actually were wrong twice. So FPRB is 2/3. So now the question is, well, is it just a coincidence? We just have like, a tiny, tiny test set here, right? So just 6 people. So is there really a false positive disparity here? Or could we just say, well, this is just due to random chance, so the classifier got unlucky with the particular test sets, but in general, there would be false positive parity. Okay? So the way we should approach this, or one way to approach this, is to say, well, we'll generate fake data, and we'll see whether there is a disparity that's as large or larger than what we observe here in the fake data, a lot or a little bit. So in order to start, we need to actually write a function that would compute FPRA and FPRB so that we know what the disparity is in our test set, and so that we can also compute the disparity in our fake data. So let's quickly do that. That's like nothing special. So we'll just say FPR, and that's going to be a function, and it's going to take a test set. So I'm just going to say test, and I'm going to say pred, because I want to be able to use it both with test A and pred A and test B and pred B, right? So what do? I say, okay, so we're returning a value here. So what should the value be? So it should be the total number of times that we said 1 and we're wrong over the negatives, divided by the total number of negatives, right? So it would be sum of test is 0 and pred is 1, so we are wrong on the negative, divided by the total number of negatives. The total number of negatives is just the sum of test equals 0, right? So here, for example, the total number of negatives would be 3 because those are those 3 zeros. So we'll divide by test equals 0, and that's what we're going to return. So that was just a one-liner. So now I am ready to actually compute the false positive rate for A and the false positive rate for B. So that's going to be useful. So I'll just say fpr.a, that's fpr, and here I'll say test A and pred A, and fprb similarly is going to be like that. Cool. So now we can compute the disparity. So the disparity would be just the difference here, or you could do the ratio, but the difference is a little bit easier. So I'll just say the absolute difference between FPRA and FPRB, right? So if in the fake data you see differences in the fake data where the null hypothesis is true, where the FPR is the same for A and B, you see that the difference is greater than 1/3 all the time, then you would say, well, there is not like enough evidence that there is a disparity. On the other hand, if a difference of 1/3 occurs very rarely in the fake data, then you would say, okay, all right, we have strong evidence that there is an actual disparity. So in the next video, we'll actually generate the fake data.